What's up, Audiobooks all day? My name is Jeff, and today I'd like to tell you about some books that I've been listening to this week, beginning with The Presidents of War. This book takes place from 1807 all the way to present day, just prior to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The book opens up in 1807 with James Madison, and then it steadily goes through the progression of presidents, starting with James Madison, and actually even kind of backing it up to Thomas Jefferson and his action to not take war, which actually leads to James Madison's taking war, all the way through the fighting presidents, through the Mexican-American War, the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, and World War I, World War II, and on through the Vietnam era. It stops right up until we get to the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Beginning with the author, Michael Beschloss. I have to look at it because it's so difficult for me to say for whatever reason. I thought that he did a good job of breaking down the actual historical significance of each of the different wars and his kind of diagnosis of the situation without getting too much into it. Let's just say he's rarely a fan of war. The audiobook reader, whose name is Fred Sanders, I think does a good job at just reading history. There's not much, there's a narrative that goes throughout the book, but there's not specific characters that he needs to embody or anything like that. So I think that he does a pretty good job at just giving it to you straight. And I never felt personally that I was lost. I never felt that I was bored. It just kind of took me steadily through the different events of our nation's history. And so I think it's a pretty important book for people to read. And I think it's an interesting perspective because I think especially around wars we can tend to maybe overlook some of the more not as pretty aspects of it, or at least the strategy and the reasonings for going into war. Specifically, what I would look for is around the Spanish-American War and how that sets a lot of precedents for future presidents' decisions. Because each time a president makes a decision, it will actually affect the decision-making processes of the other presidents. And so just looking through the very first president that Thomas Jefferson set, but then what immediately James Madison does, and then going on through to different presidents, and really looking at that pivot on the Spanish-American War, I think is pretty pivotal to understanding our nation's history. So I would really actually recommend this book. It's fairly long, but I think that it's a well worth read because I think that it gives you not only the sense of history with the presidents, but also the major conflicts that were going on, and you kind of get both of those at the same time. So you're not getting the on-the-ground view very often, although every once in a while he'll surprise you and he'll take you actually in through the characters, especially the historical figures that were at the very beginning of some of these conflicts, which I found very interesting. So please go check it out. I listened to it using the library app called Overdrive, and I found it on Utah's Online Library. So I hope you have a good day and enjoyed this video. Thanks.